Okay, I will start orientation, and the first half of the first 10 minutes of orientation is my explanation, and the next 10-15 minutes is Q&A session, and I will I will spend the next 15 sessions just for me to speak, though you are welcome to ask questions in the chat section as a chat message. After 10 minutes, I'm going to release your mute. Then you are welcome to intervene as with your voice. You can keep your screen off or on now and during the Q&A, which is totally optional. And let me just say hello to you using some let me see which one, well, maybe this is interesting, virtual screen, and yeah, so this one is a virtual screen or cartoon in the Philippines, written by a cartoonist in the Philippines in the 1980s. This is a caricature and about Japan and the Filipino relations at the time in the 1980s. So this there are two people. One people is just invisible on the right, but holding some weight, big weight with yen sign, Japanese yen sign, and with some calf maybe. And the left-hand side is a Filipino person. So this means Japan is providing assistance to the Philippines, but with some heavy conditions. In today's jargon, today we see the similar situation with China and many African or developing countries as a character. This very similar context. Instead of Japanese yen, it is probably Chinese yuan, and the African people are the Asian people being assisted, but with debt trap and conditions, like the example of Sri Lanka port or some other countries' infrastructure where Chinese lending is conditioned on some sort of management conditions, contract. The recent example I have seen, other than the very famous Sri Lanka port example, is Pakistani port operated by originally Singaporean company, but recently handed over to Chinese company. So it's nothing to do with the country, but company. Nationality of the company changed from Singapore to Chinese in Pakistani Gwadar port, where Chinese government is assisting Pakistan for the constructions and operations of the port, which is strategically very important for China. So anyway, those things are just examples of the so-called realities of foreign assistance. And economic development has very closely related to foreign policy and foreign aid, of course. And though this course mainly focus on economic side, technical side of it, and but each year I change some focus in using very much different textbook also. So if you have taken this course last year, and it's totally different. I mean, not totally, but some are similar, but the focus is totally different, because economic development covers a very vast areas. It's beyond economics sometimes, some people say. And let me switch screen to the textbook to be more precise about what we are going to do. So, I mean, actually, this is, by the way, the translations of the main textbook. We're going to translation in Japanese of the economics of poverty. I think this has been translated in several different languages. So if you want to understand in your language of familiarities, I mean, I'm using this myself, so because it helps me to better understand the original contents. The original is in English, of course, and but I don't want to use it only, only as a, because sometimes the translation is not perfectly correct, but it helps. And for your information, other textbook I have used and I will use as a secondary materials. By the way, this is the this one on the right is something I have used for the past 3-4 years in this course, Development Economics, which covers really a huge items at the graduate level, entry-level graduate school. Other things are also available, but they are either too expensive, too technical, or too easy. So this I thought was a very good mixture of practical side of economics, development economics, and the theoretical side, and with the update information, because development itself is updating. But after a few years, things are outdated, a lot of things. For instance, they are talking about Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, which already ended in 2015. We are talking about Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, starting 2015, and we are actually facing a new issues of pandemic in 2020. So these things are not considered in this textbook. And this year focus is micro aspects, especially poverty. Understanding Poverty is another book I might have used, but this year I did not use this one. But let me sort of switch to the syllabus. Okay. Well, I hope I'm showing the syllabus of this course. And if there's something I need to highlight or some differences, I will also highlight. Well, the biggest difference from the original syllabus and the current syllabus is that the current syllabus is assumes full on demand, while the original syllabus was a full face-to-face in-class teaching. But for various reasons, I have changed the style to class to full demand. But that has posed a bit of problem in terms of textbook availability. This one is a textbook by Martin Ravalian. I know Martin Ravalian personally because we used to work in the same organization in Washington, World Bank. He was but though he is much longer experience and senior person, and in terms of managerial positions as a researcher and also practitioner. But a great scholar about poverty guru. And so if you talk about poverty within the World Bank, Ravalian is the first place to go. And he is now retired from the bank, teaching at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. So I wanted to use his textbook. So these 30 sections, 30 sections, but 15 weeks will consist of the readings of Martin Ravalian. But if you do focus entirely on that, not Martin Ravalian, something is missing greatly, which is macroeconomic side of economic, which is also important. And though that's not a focus, we want to do that. I mean, we want to supplement the contents of macroeconomics, like economic growth, national income, etc. I mean, economic growth and national income, and not probably about exchange rate or finance. That's purely macro. So in that sense, these syllabus or weekly assignment, etc., are quite are very likely to be adjusted in terms of on-demand contents. Also, the grading policy, class participation, I don't really know whether how we can do this. The second thing, the final exam, yes, we will have it as an open book. We have to do it. This is unchanged. Paper, 30% of midterm report on some assigned topic before the winter break. This will be done. But on what topic I have to decide. So 80% of the grade will be determined by that. 20% review quiz or assignment. Some simple questions. Well, because why I say simple, because if it is done in class, I can sort of give you a very detailed or long essays to write, but there are something which is unexpectedly the registered students has increased drastically. I know the current number of students registered is about 100, in the order of 110, 110 or 20. Max is 120. The original max number in class I have anticipated is 80. So actually, this poses a problem in terms of textbook. So university bookstore, Coop, have ordered only 80 books, and but I also already asked them to to add additional 40 as soon as possible. That they say it takes 3 weeks for the books to arrive. So, but I don't want to waste the 3 weeks. So I would like to suggest is try something else other than in case the textbook is no longer available from the bookstore. Let me see. Where is this? Yeah, this is the Amazon.co.jp. Kindle versions of this is available for this amount, for 5,200. So you can get it instantly. You can purchase paperback or hardcover, which is hardcover is too expensive. So paperback is paper copy, or as originally said, you can go to the university bookstore purchase site by clicking this site with 8,000, etc. I think this includes shipment fees. I think I don't know the details, but this 8,000, etc. But I said they are only available. I mean, 80 copies are available, whereas 120 are needed. So if you decide to stay with this course, it's better to. It is required to have this either through Coop bookstore or Amazon Kindle or any I don't know any other format is available. And this is the 5,282 it seems to be the least expensive way to get this book and instantly. But again, you can do it. You can go to the university bookstore to get one, of course. So, but anyway, the textbook is an issue, and we are requiring students to bring the textbook every time you take the course. And but let me talk a little bit about the textbook now. So the contents of Ravallian, Economics of Poverty, consists of various parts. Part one, history of thought. Today we are, facing the pandemic, obviously, but that big crisis for humankind has made us, the humankind, question the already accepted notions or paradigms that we take it as granted, which include the basic theory of economics, or more precisely, fundamentals of capitalist assumptions. So currently the major mainstream of economics taught at Waseda and other universities across the world, except perhaps some countries, teaching economics as a neoclassical model, but some people, non-mainstream economists, are increasingly influential. I don't think, and I don't hope, I don't expect them to override the mainstream one, but anyway, it is worth spending some time about those issues, way of thinking about economics or economy, history of economic thought, and what is the economics of the development in the long history of economics, and what is the current thinking. And given the current pandemic situation, what the economics should look like in the new paradigm. Is there any post-neo-classical model that we should anticipate? Or should we go back to, or should we adopt some elements of non-capitalist theory, like a Marxist theory or leftist theory? But because we see a lot of people, even in the US, like so-called Sanders phenomena, there are leftist people even in the US supporting the ideas of such. How should we interpret them? We are talking about Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Those people on the extreme left even criticize the SDGs because they are just revisionist capitalist ideas. They should give up entirely the capitalist ideas and adopt something new. What's new? I mean, actually, that's their biggest weakness. The non-proposal of the model of criticism, just criticism. I mean, that's my interpretation. But anyway, after we spent some time about these fundamental conceptual issues, following the text, part 2, measure and method. Actually, that's the main part of this course of welfare. How can we visibly capture the so-called welfare in economics? Capabilities. Capabilities is an important concept for some school of thoughts because poverty is not income poverty; it's a capability failures. So that again brings us back to some philosophical argument. So I like this book because there's a good mixture of way of thinking and way of measuring measuring poverty, welfare, and eventually starting with a very overall measurement of welfare and its method and its background philosophy, we are entering into the more concrete issues of measurement, how to measure poverty from food or non-food items. Food is an important part of our survival. Food, health. Health is also very relevant today. How can we base those measures as those issues like calorie, food, health, nutrition, and so on, as part of the poverty measures? And poverty lines, where should we draw lines below which people are considered poverty? And how poverty and inequality related? And to be a more practical side, how can we measure a program such as foreign aid program, the World Bank, or both Martin Ravalin and I were part of it, used to be part of it, how those institutions are making a decision about extending loans to developing countries to get some results on the ground, but how can we visualize them? That's impact evaluation. Methods of impact evaluation. But so this one is a very much practical issue. And other parts 3, poverty and policy. So poverty itself, per se, poverty and some policy issues, and but here is the policy has been picked up. So if you talk about poverty, you have to think of poverty in 3 dimensions. One is how we consider poverty, the philosophy, and second, how we measure the poverty measurement, and third, how we apply the measurement into practical policy. So a way of thinking, measurement and application in policy. So 3 dimensions should be considered as one package. So part 3 is about third applications, poverty programs, inequality programs. And so-called no one left behind society in terms of poverty. And as part of those discussions and applications, here growth is considered. So growth is not a goal, unlike some people may argue. It's part of the means in our concept, because our goal in this in our focus is to reduce poverty, eradicate poverty, and make the income distribution more equal. Growth, for some people, it is a goal, but yeah, it can be a goal, but we consider this also as a means to achieve more poverty reduced. And how economists try to explain economic growth, and how does it affects the poverty and inequality. So always focus is poverty, even if when we talk about growth. This section is also part of the many examples: China, Brazil, India, maybe some other countries if available. And 9 sector policies. Economy-wide means macro and sector policies. Health care water, sanitation, schooling, and the trade and development aid policies, aid institutions. I mean, these are always talking about applications of poverty and inequality in policy making. And finally, but not least, targeted interventions, public finance idea, how to make public funds available to be used with the targeted interventions. It's an efficiency issue, an effectively issue. We want to minimize the error of targeting. Is like archery. You have to target the goal correctly. That's a good targeting. So if you're talking about, if your target is poor people, a reduction of poverty, policy should target the poor people. If your arrow goes out of that area, it's not well targeted. It is out of control. So it's a failure as a policy. So you have to target the population, in that case, poor population. What are the ways to do that? That's also a policy question. And the conclusions. Yeah, that's basically the structure of the book, Ravalian book, and also the structure of the course. So you see, lots of issues are related to poverty or inequality. Unlike other previous semesters or other books about poverty, there are some missing issues, some issues that we do not talk about it a lot, extensively, like the issue of migration, issues of international trade and finance, and what else? I mean, if you compare the previous one, previous textbook I have used and the current one I'm trying to use, yeah, that's a major difference, maybe. Yeah, but the difference is just a focus. It's not a it's not really there are the textbooks are different, but and the focus are different, but there's something in common as well. How do we perceive development? So my goal, okay, here's my goal or ambition or plan. I said I'm going to use those books. I'm searching for something. I said we have been using several different textbooks that I think is very useful to understand development. But I decided to switch the textbook. But we are not learning textbook. But I want to create my own textbook or materials eventually about development. So starting today, starting this week, the most part of this this is still blank, but I will write new items from the week one. The week one is introduction to development economics and etc. That corresponds to Ravalian chapters 1 and 2. Yes, yes, and I think and then as we go along, of course, this blank will be filled in by my own learnings. I forgot to tell you one thing. And I would like you to go to the Moodle. Yeah. Yeah, Moodle, if you open the Moodle sections of economic development, there already something updated. Users manual, course orientations. Occasionally, I have interactive sessions. Attendance on live is not compulsory, but students are required to watch the recorded material on a specific items. So it's not mandatory. It's not, necessary for you to be on time on this, but the contents of this will be recorded, and you have to watch them. Not every week, but occasionally. Interactive sessions will be, will be conducted a couple of times. But most of the time, it's better for you to check the course plan updated weekly. So actually, this is this is more updated syllabus or weekly assignment. And this is actually the course. This is taken from, the current version of this is nearly the same as syllabus. So for instance, week one and week two, issues and cases in international development in the 1910s, 1920s. Yeah, I have to say that. And week 1B, understanding multidimensionality development and the heterogeneity of country conditions and priorities. So anyway, you are required to read or watch some course materials that is uploaded in the Moodle. And some parts, you are basically asked to follow those materials, the week 1 and 1. Maybe you notice there is some inconsistency in terms of what the syllabus has just stated and what this Moodle weekly contents shows. But occasionally it will be, the gap will be narrowed from the syllabus and the actual one. But you notice that I use a lot for now some external sources or some materials I have done in the previous semesters in a different, in the same course or a different course in the different places. It's like recycling. but I hope to update the current versions as soon as possible, starting today maybe. But one thing I'd like you to do is to, read the textbooks as assigned. Please read the textbook, and I will make the questions on the textbook questions as a review quiz at the end of each sections. So let's consider starting the week one starting tomorrow, and you will have 15 weeks and 30 sections. There will be a TA. You can send an email to me as well as also email or message through the board. Yeah, I think I have been a little bit too slow, and maybe some of you got. Yeah, that's it. So this notebook will be updated from now. The Martin Ravarian's book is the one I'm going to use it as a main textbook. Yes. I will release your mute in case you have questions in verbally or writing in the message. But let me stop the recording.